Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to another edition of Hilaal Live. I'm your host, Luqman Shadrack. Now, over the weekend, the call was made for Cape Townians to come out in their numbers and show their support for our brothers and sisters in Palestine, in Gaza. And it was a very successful march. And to talk to us a bit more, on the Zoom link up, we have Sheikh Ihsan Talib. Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. Welcome.
Alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Luqman. Shukran very much. Very happy to be with you.
Jazakallah so much for affording us your time, Sheikh. We had made that call during the week and weeks preceding for the public in Cape Town to come out and join the mass protest. Talk us through how the protest went for you, Sheikh.
Alhamdulillah, Luqman. I mean, I also remember you being there, and we actually had a little moment to also talk whilst we were walking.
Absolutely.
And it was really wonderful. It was very emotional, as we said at the time, to be part of the crowd, given the context of our brethren and our siblings in the Gaza, and the intensity of the siege that they're currently, of course, being subjected to. The fact that the blockade is, complete and absolute. So it was really emotional for me that, alhamdulillah, we as a community came out the way we did, in order once again at least to demonstrate and show perchance some of the, footages would have reached to them as well.
Absolutely.
In the sense of despair also that we ourselves experience as well.
Now, we started the march out in Muir Street Masjid, and we caravanned our way all the way to Wales Street, where the Western Cape legislature is based. Did we achieve what we hoped? Did we let our voices be heard, and was it actually heard?
Yeah. So of course the intention from our side was obviously to present ourselves to the Western Cape legislature in particular, as we know, which is a DA governed municipality, as well as our province. So we know that our fight as humankind is with Zionism. Our challenge that we have to overcome as humankind is to overcome this scourge of Zionism. And I think our message went loud and clear to the Western Cape government as probably the most infinite, if you wish, rather intimate, alliance partner of Zionism in South Africa. So that was why we went there. I think our message was loud and clear, and we hope that also again the attendance of the media, etc., would have carried our voices afar.
Great stuff. It's one of those gatherings that we bump into people that we haven't seen for ages. We bump into new friends. We bump into people that from different communities as well. It wasn't, a lot of people think when we have a march in Cape Town, it's only Muslim people, but we have people from all different walks of life that was present at the march. What were some of the conversations that you engaged in, Sheikh? Because I saw that you walked all the way in the crowd. Was there any particular conversations had?
Yeah, most certainly. So many times, I must say very honestly that I have had marches where our diversity was of a more enhanced level, and that we've had the opportunity to engage with more diversity, especially at the interfaith level. And that we've also, and this is the kind of conversation that I had, especially I was at that point walking next to my wife, and as we were walking past the steps of the St. George's Cathedral itself, I brought to my own attention and hers how at those steps on a Wednesday afternoon, consistently and without fail, they had a weekend lunch vigil since the 7th of October until today.
Brilliant.
And so we were obviously very again, that was for me quite nostalgic. I joined a few of those vigils there during the course of this 18-month period. And by the grace of Allah, they have continued with that. And this is an indication how, especially to the Muslim community, how people from across religious, communities are actually doing their bit. And sometimes, I dare say, the kind of commitment and consistency shown by the community there around the St. George's Cathedral. And that is also an interfaith gathering. I mean, it's Muslim, Jewish, and Christian people gathering on the steps there on a weekly basis. But they are really an example, a shining example for us.
Alhamdulillah. You're right. It's an absolute honor to see other faiths being involved and showing that this is a humanitarian cause and a humanitarian awareness that we need to create as well. Sheikh, it's always, these type of gatherings is a reminder that we are still facing such atrocities in Gaza. Maybe give our audience a reminder of what the current state is in Gaza.
Yeah. So as our speakers at the march rightly referred even to, on that particular morning, there was this, once again, a freedom flotilla. And this was, in fact, something which they, by design, kept, out of the eye of the media by design. It didn't help because that particular morning, this flotilla, as it came past the island of Malta, was in actual fact bombed by the targeted and a missile was fired at a particular dimension to really take out all the economic, the electronic capacity of that vessel, and also, in a sense, compromise the hull of the vessel itself, which meant that if something didn't happen very quickly, it would actually sink. So there were, in fact, 30 people on that vessel, but their purpose was, and we heard more about it after the event actually happened, and which is obviously the day of our march itself as well. And their purpose, of course, was to try and break the siege. Their purpose was to try and lift the blockade. And to take, actually, they took humanitarian aid and assistance through precisely because this is the issue of the hour. It's the fact that the people are dying of starvation. Right now, children are actually dying of malnutrition. And so we have seen pictures, horrific pictures of children who are literally skin and bone. And we know there's a certain facial as well as a bodily kind of appearance of people who are suffering malnutrition. And when you see that in the context of children, it is just so much more horrific. But yes, that is where the situation is after 2 months of an absolute siege and absolute blockade. Can we imagine, Luqman? Not a single drop of water had been allowed. And it is so, what also just, enrages a person is the fact that what they had then done is they, after all the bombardment, after all the destruction of the entire societal infrastructure, they created what they euphemistically refer to as this buffer zone. The buffer zone is like literally an apocalyptic presence. It's like an apocalyptic picture that you see there of probably a post-nuclear kind of, event and incident right along the entire border of the Gaza, into the Gaza for 1.5 kilometers.
Wow.
That's what they had done, which reinforces almost the intensity as well as almost the completeness of this blockade and the siege.
The 11th of May, next week, we have Nakba Day. What is your advice to our audience? How could we do more? What can we do on that day to show our solidarity? Yeah.
So, of course, the 15th of May, Luqman. So, of course, on that particular day, there has been plans made from, again, across the NGO sector with a number of programs leading up to that. I remember particularly our colleague and friend, the tireless Professor Yusuf Chikte was standing on top of the truck as well. And he mentioned, of course, a number of events that will be taking place leading up to the 15th of October.
Okay.
And among those as well is the initiative with our own, even though the South African government took historically and unprecedentedly took the occupation, the Israeli regime to the International Court of Justice. Mm-hmm. Our own National Prosecuting Authority is a grave disappointment to South African society, and especially the Palestinian Solidarity Movement, because notwithstanding almost 80 or 70, between 70 and 80 names that have been submitted to the NPA of South African citizens fighting in the occupation forces in Israel. Right. Not a single one of those cases have been initiated in terms of laying charges against these individuals. So that is one of the programs that will be targeted during this time leading up until the 15th of May. And certainly from the Al-Quds side also, I'm waiting from our office, the public liaison, to also inform what are some of those programs that will be coming through, Lukman.
Sheikh Iksan, always a great pleasure chatting to you. Thank you for affording us your time. Have a great evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Jazakallah khair. Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That's our very own Sheikh Iksan Talib, who was present at the march on behalf of Al-Quds, South Africa. After the break, we chat to Advocate Shamima Dali. You are still watching Hilaal Live. Assalamu alaikum, welcome back to Hilaal Live. We continue our conversation around the march that happened on Saturday this weekend, where thousands of Cape Townians came out to show their support. And one such person who is always at the forefront when it comes to showing her support and making her voice heard is Advocate Shamima Dali Sali, who's on the line with us right now. Assalamu alaikum, Shamima, and welcome.
Wa alaikum salam to you, Luqman, and to all the listeners.
Jazakallah so much for affording us your time. I know Mondays are generally a busy day for everyone trying to get the week sorted as well. But we come out the weekend, we heard the call, Cape Townians heard the call and came out and showed their support. What was the march, the protest march, like for you?
Well, you know, my heart, and I think everybody's heart is so full, and you think, what is the little bit that you can do in order to support your brothers and sisters in Gaza? And as we all know, that the situation is really, really dire. And walking in that march and the solidarity, and look, knowing that in Gaza, they are actually watching us. Mm-hmm. We are their hope. They are living through us at the moment, Luqman. Everything that we are doing is giving them a little bit of hope. I'm in direct contact with a lot of people in Palestine, in Gaza, West Bank, and several other areas. So I kind of have a good idea of what is happening on the ground. Mm-hmm. I sometimes speak to them and I hear the bombs dropping, and you hear that sound of buzzing constantly while you're speaking to them. So walking with the crowd, you know, I made an appeal to people even the morning to come out, show the humanity. This is the least we can do. It's a Saturday. People are not really working, etc. Come out and be part of the march. And there was quite a lot of people, not as much as I've seen previously. Right. I did assume that we would see a bit more than what was on Saturday, but also understandable that there is currently a lot of events happening throughout South Africa where we are showing our support for our brothers and sisters in Palestine and in Gaza especially. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can look at my eyes. I think it's like a 24/7 thing, for the fight for the freedom of people in Palestine, because we know all too well what they're going through. We went back through a little bit of it when we went through apartheid.
Of course.
But we are all seeing a genocide being committed right in front of our eyes on live screen. How can we ignore it? How can we close our eyes to what is currently happening? And that was the feeling that we were getting in the crowd. You could feel the togetherness, the unity, which was very, very important. And also, knowing that this is just of what we can do, but there's still so much more that needs to be done. And I think everybody So of the conversations that I was listening to was people's fear of what is the legacy we're leaving for our offspring if we don't do something about what's happening. How is what is happening in the world going to impact on our children, on our loved ones? What is the ultimate outcome that is actually going to come from this? And then also people were speaking about the reality of end of times, because all of the everything that is said is going to happen, is starting to happen already. And
Absolutely.
many eyes are close to it.
Absolutely. You mentioned that you are in contact with some of our brothers and sisters in Palestine. Maybe give us a little bit of an update so that our audience can relate to why we go on these marches, why we share and shout at the top of our voices so that others can hear what's really happening in Gaza.
Well, let's first get to the stats, because sometimes you need to understand how much numbers are gone. Over 60,000 is already massacred. Millions are displaced. There's over 115,000 that is injured. And when I talk injured, I'm not just talking small injuries. I'm talking amputees. I'm talking burns. I'm talking illnesses, because you also have people who are still suffering from cancer, kidney problems, and all those aspects. Medical care is not coming in. They can't get medication. They are suffering under a famine. I mean, I speak to them, and you have to look at the difference in where they were at and where they are now. There's a struggle to get food, and right now people are actually ending up in desperation. Some people are turning on others for food. And this is not something that we commonly see amongst these people. But the pure desperation of feeding your baby, feeding your child, watching little babies that mothers can't breastfeed them, watching 2 to 3 months old starve to death, watching the world going on with their lives and watching people starving, watching young people, children, there's no anesthetics, nothing, being sewn up, stitched up, amputated, because there is nothing, there is no medical care. And if you are able to get food, the cost, look man, if you're looking for about a kilo of meat, you're probably looking at about 1,200 rand, if you are lucky to find some on the market. One of the young men that I know on that side, one of many, his name is Hilaal Shakura. And I spoke to him a few days ago. And his brother was working at the marketplace, and a rocket, I promise you, a rocket passed by his brother and bombed the tent behind him.
Oh, gosh.
So imagine living in those situations. I mean, I've been on the phone with them when I listen to bombs drop, and I watch buildings shake, and I listen to the screams of the children, and I don't know. I suppose that is why I can't sleep.
Yeah. Shamima, as
It's
part
hard.
of Al-Jama'ah and, being part of our local municipality as well, there was a recent visit by the DA councillors to Israel, and it hit the news. What's the latest on that?
I'm currently waiting for the speaker to respond to us, and that response I feel is a bit long overdue. I think it's the 3rd week now. Normally it's about 2 weeks and they got to respond to us. There is a few questions that has been requested, as well as I've asked for an urgent debate on this particular matter. The questions that was asked is, considering the fact that they're saying they went on their own, on a private visit and private fact-finding mission, we wanted to know, one, who sponsored that particular mission. Secondly, was leave applied for, because these 9 MPs was in constituency period, which means we're supposed to be working in our country and helping the people within our country. Other factor is, so it's important to find out if had they actually put in leave. Then as MPs, we've got 2 passports. We've got our official passport and we've got the normal passport. So we want to know which passport was used. Was your official passport used, or was your personal? Because remember, they went over there noting that they are MPs, etc. So under what banner did they actually go and visit in the unlawful, barbaric state of Israel?
Okay, is there a time frame where we're hoping to get a response?
Well, I'm hoping at least by this week we get the response, because from the Al-Jama'ah side, we are considering laying criminal charges. And, the questions that has been answered, and the answers stemming from that also gives us some form of direction in which way to go.
Of course.
But we're also looking at our Roman law, as well as, the law that we currently have in South Africa, as well as the treaty that was signed last year by South Africa. So we're looking at the International Convention on Suppression of Apartheid, right? So we are subjected to that particular treaty. So if you look at the actions and the outcome of these particular MPs, what they have done is crimes against humanity, because here you've got 9 MPs who are not qualified to say whether or not there's apartheid happening in the unlawful state.
Absolutely. A
Right?
couple of minutes left, Shamima. I just want to cover the event on Kromboom Road Bridge that happened over the weekend. We all know Auntie Naz that was part of this movement many years ago, and others have continued. Give us an update before we close off.
So on Friday, we had the Flag Day at Kromboom Bridge, which was late afternoon. Auntie Nancy Solomons was an activist. She was one of my mentors, Palestinian activist. She was forthright and honest, and she was on the forefront of fighting for the freedom of Palestine. Rain or shine, she would be standing on Kromboom Bridge every Friday after Jumu'ah in her support and noting of the freedom of the Palestinians and noting their situation, etc. And in honor of the fact that, one, we are now going to have the Nakba Day, which is to us another heartbreaking moment.
Yes.
As well as in honor of Auntie Nazli, we had the flags on Kromboom Bridge on Friday. And to be honest with you, my opinion is that we need to restart Auntie Naz's legacy.
Inshallah.
It is important. She would have been appalled had she been alive today to see the condition of our brothers and sisters in Palestine.
Absolutely. Whenever Auntie Naz saw me, the first thing, Shadrach, come here, come join me. You know, that's the first thing she would say. But her memory, her legacy, her willpower lives on in all of us. And I think it's a great idea that, we could go on and start that. Nakba Day coming up. Final thoughts from you.
There is quite a few events happening, and maybe I should just help your listeners to understand what is taking place. So I've got the Kifaya Day. So please, everybody, on the 11th of May, please wear your Kifaya and upload and send out a message of support to our brothers and sisters in Palestine. There is the Nakba Day event at the Castle of Good Hope on the 18th of May from 12 o'clock until 4.
Okay.
Then there's the Global Palestine Cake Day, which happens on the 25th of May. That's normally at Muizenberg. Then we've got the weekly pickets. That's at the Canal Walk, Waterfront and Cavendish, at Cape Union Mart and at Starbucks. We've got at-loan pickets every Friday from 4 till 6 at Jan Smuts opposite the police station.
Okay.
And then we've got the Strand pickets every Saturday at 10:30, corner of the main road at Gordons Bay. And then we've got the vigil at St. George's Cathedral every Wednesday from 12 o'clock until 1 o'clock.
Great stuff.
So this is but a few of the events that's leading up to, Nakba Day and after.
Okay.
And we will continue until Palestine is free.
Inshallah. Jazakallah so much, Advocate Shamima Dali-Sali. Always a pleasure having you on our channel. We look forward to chatting to you in the near future. Have a great evening. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
And that's how we wrap up Hilaal Live from Cape Town. From all of us in the Cape Town branch, we would wish you a great evening. Assalamu alaikum.